Hello, and welcome to the podcast, episode 29, where today we're going to be discussing modern cars. Alright, I'm sorry, I'm talking about vehicles again. Oopsie-daisies. Alright, for real though. I'm not going to talk about AI or electric cars for a little while after this episode, or at least I'm going to try not to. But as you can tell by the spacing, the upload spacing between the last episode and this episode, you can't tell I am kind of lacking ideas, so this was just kind of a last case scenario if I just couldn't come up with anything. I do have a lot to say on this matter, as you can expect at this point. But the first half of this episode, I think, I'll go over kind of the issues with a lot of modern vehicles, because don't get me wrong, modern vehicles are really not that great. And obviously this kind of peaked with the Tesla Cybertruck. But even more run-of-the-mill vehicles, such as the Ford F-150 or the Hyundai Elantra, vehicles such as that, they are so advanced to the point where you may as well not even have it. Like, the point of driving a vehicle is to drive a vehicle. So, I can appreciate kind of suggestions such as blind spot monitors, lights that go off in the mirrors that, let you know if a car is coming behind you in your blind spot, or, maybe just a little beep if you're slightly going out of your lane. However, it becomes an issue when the vehicles start correcting you physically. If you slightly veer out of your lane and the steering wheel goes, "No!" and it jerks you back into your lane, that becomes an issue, because then it's really just, that can kind of become accident causing. And then, of course, don't even get me started about autopilot. I mean, that's always, since its release, just been an issue. It's never worked properly, and it never will, because it's driving, as I'm sure you know, it requires a lot of attention. And a computer can give a lot of attention, but it also can screw up a lot. And the computers that are in vehicles with autopilot, such as Teslas, they've been failing since they were released. From, I think they were released in 2018, 2017, to now. They've always just not been ready. And something that could be particularly scary is if autopilot or just the lane correctors start getting implemented in much larger vehicles, such as semis or even just UPS trucks. I would assume if this kind of technology gets implemented in vehicles like that, it'll probably go into semis first, because UPS trucks haven't been updated in about 4,000 years. But semis have definitely been revised pretty much every half decade. And I mean, the Tesla Semi is a great example of that. I'm pretty sure Tesla Semis are being used in Western civilizations such as California. And to my surprise, it's actually doing quite well. I've heard that it's really competing, with the older Peterbilts and stuff like that. But I think, at the end of the day, range and torque is the real factor, and the only thing you really get with an electric motor in terms of torque is instant torque. Not really a lot of torque, but just instant torque. With a diesel engine, that the dinosaurs that Peterbilt makes now, those may not have instant torque, but they do have a lot of torque. And don't forget, with a diesel engine, it doesn't use as much fuel as a normal gasoline engine. And that's one of the reasons why they put diesels in semis, along with the fact that diesels generate more power. And of course, this does kind of not matter when the diesel engine is being used to haul 1 million pounds all the time. But, obviously, a more fuel-efficient engine would be optimal in that kind of situation. And, while the electric car charging time has definitely improved, it's still so much longer than waiting for a gasoline car to fuel up. And that's kind of one thing that I can see would cause a lot of people to be late for things, because it takes 30 minutes to charge. You're going to a special event, or, you're going to your job. Oh no, you're at 2%. What are you going to do? You're going to have to charge it. Oh no, but it takes 30 minutes, but you got to be at work in 10 minutes. So, what do you do? Now, going to vehicles that are gasoline powered, one of the argument points that people have when people say driving sucks, cars suck, we need to start walking again, is pickup trucks are getting too big. And I'm talking about pickup trucks such as the Ford F-150, the Dodge Ram, vehicles such as that. And there's a YouTube channel out there called Not Just Bikes that has made a video on this. And I need to keep my inside thoughts to myself for this, but it's going to be really difficult. The overall argument of pickup trucks being too big makes no sense whatsoever. That is just the size that they need to be. I glossed over this in the last episode about the Slate pickup truck, about how it's a very small pickup truck, and in a way that's great. Mini trucks are very cool. I like them. However, if you want the absolute most utilitarian and usable vehicle that you can get, you have to get a big pickup truck. And the main argument with this goes along with, but they're running over people. That is the driver's fault. If someone runs over someone else, that's not the truck's fault, that's the driver's fault. When you are at the hands of something that is larger than people walking on the sidewalk and driving on the road, you must pay more attention to everything around you. All right, I must calm down. I just had to delete a section of my recording because I legit crashed out. I full on was yelling into the microphone. It was very bad, and it's something that I have strived never to do, but I just did it, and I should probably stop doing that. Anyways, let's see if I can do this again. The thing that I got really angry at was another argument that they make is people who drive pickup trucks are much more agitated drivers. They cause much more road rage than anyone else. And I actually can agree with that. If you look at any one of the road rage compilation YouTube channels, you can see that many of the vehicles that start the road rage are pickup trucks, or the people that start road rage drive pickup trucks. But the issue with the argument is that if we ban pickup trucks, that doesn't also mean that we ban the people that drive them. Maybe it does, I don't know. But using common sense, I'm going to say that doesn't mean that. So what that means is that, people are just going to be driving, the people that used to the people that used to drive, Ford F-150s or Dodge Rams are now going to be driving Nissan Altimas and doing the exact same thing. That doesn't change their mindset. And then, of course, there's the other argument, which is that pickup truck big, but utility bed small. Yeah. There's something called a long bed, and it's for people that need a longer bed. Yes, I will agree that the standards for a short bed or a standard bed have gotten a lot smaller over the years, since, 1972 to now. A short bed used to be, the wheel was kind of, more towards the cab, but not completely touching it. And now, a short bed is to where the the wheel well for the rear quarter panel is literally touching the back door or front door, how many doors you have. I'm not sure if that was a good description, but I hope you know what I mean. But then again, the long bed. What is it? So, if we break down the words long and bed, so what does the word long mean? It means kind of larger than small, and then bed. What's that? It's the back part of a pickup truck where you usually put things. And then you get long bed, which is a larger than small bed. And for people that find the use of a long bed much better than a standard or short bed, they buy a long bed. But, if they kind of just want something to just kind of put, a few things in, maybe some, small pieces of plywood or, some short wood planks, some 2x4s, whatever, they get the shorter vehicles. It could be, a Honda Ridgeline or a Hyundai Santa Cruz or just a short bed pickup truck. And of course, yes, there is the actual agreeable point of the reason pickup trucks are popular among auto manufacturers is because they can kind of loophole around regulations. Or I'm not really sure if loophole is the right word, but they can go around regulations. They don't have to follow them like they would with a sedan or just like a normal car. With a larger vehicle, they allow, less work to be done with them, with the engine. The emission regulations, they aren't as strict with pickup trucks, but that's because the EPA knows that trucks, they're just going to generate more emissions because they're larger vehicles. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have a pickup truck-sized car or a car-sized pickup truck? I can just end the episode with that. Because the in-between isn't very good. Where, pickup trucks and cars are kind of just the same size. Because then cars will be too big and pickup trucks will be too small. And we just have lost all feng shui with vehicles. And I did kind of gloss over this a little bit ago in this episode, but I didn't really go into depth with it, but I should. Another argument that they typically make is that cars, private vehicles that you can drive, are not, are not the way of transportation. They aren't the way that transportation should be. I'm about to go full Alex Jones, but I'm not. I'm going to resist. Public transportation is great for its own thing, and it's for people who may not have a car, may not be able to afford one, or people whose car is broken down and it's in the shop, or they can't get it fixed right now. But to say that public transportation needs to be a standard among getting from A to B is one of the most insane things I've ever heard. That is such a dystopian mindset to prefer waiting for a vehicle to pick you up so you can go where you need to go after 40 other people have gone where they need to go. You're on that thing for 2 hours? Do you really prefer that over just going to your garage or to your driveway, just getting in your vehicle and going? And I've just gotten an email from Motor Trend, the Motor Trend newsletter. I should probably unsubscribe from that. They got rid of Roadkill, and it's good for nothing now. But the 2025 Ford Explorer Platinum all-wheel drive first test. Let's see here. Oh, it's a big one. Oh, no, and it's the $80,000 Lincoln Nautilus as well. And the Land Rover Defender and the 72 Chevy C20. Those are all really big vehicles, gas guzzlers, baby killers. Those are all terrible vehicles. I'm afraid I'm just going to have to unsubscribe. Not because they got rid of Roadkill, because they're practically sponsoring these vehicles that kill people. Why would I want that? And a big point that Not Just Bikes makes is SUVs and trucks are terrible for cities. Then don't drive them in cities. That's an option. If you live in a city, you don't have to get an SUV. That's a mindset that he really focuses on, is that it's like he thinks everyone drives a big truck and an SUV, which I'll agree, many people do. And there's also the fact that trucks and SUVs in America, where trucks and SUVs are most popular,
are fine. They're fine in cities.
And yes, I mean, while I'll agree, a car in a city is optimal. You know, a much smaller vehicle like a Camry is much better in a city than a Silverado. But a Silverado is still very usable in a city. Oh, and he also said that the Mercedes G-Wagon is the dumbest vehicle ever made. Yeah, that's kind of why it's cool. And I'd like him to know that my grandmother really likes the Mercedes wagon, so I'm going to be expecting a apology note in her mailbox very soon. Now, a good point, I'll say, but an arguable point that he made is larger vehicles cause congestion. Looking at it shallowly, yes. However, you want to know what else causes congestion? Bad drivers. A lot of what people will do, you've most definitely seen this before, is people will typically stop at a stoplight, if there's a car in front of them, they'll stop probably a full car length behind them. That right there is what causes congestion. And it's not just people who drive trucks and SUVs that are doing this, it's everyone. And that right there could substitute for trucks and SUVs if they ever get banned, and we'll just be back to square one. Real quick, I'm just going to stop myself here. I'm ending this episode before I explode. But I do, real quick, I'm not going to quote him on this, because I don't want you to be in such shock that you have to watch the whole video that he made, because honestly, you'll lose, like, all of your brain cells if you do. But let me see if I can find the... Here it is. Yeah. So let me just go back a bit. All right. I'm putting it up to the microphone. This is his words. His complete words. It's 17 seconds long. Get ready for this. It's ridiculous.
Cities should tax vehicles by weight and limit vehicles with bumpers that are too high, or require commercial driver's licenses to operate them. Parking permits for longer vehicles should be more expensive to compensate for the lost space. Licensing and insuring SUVs should be more expensive too.
That's it. Do with that what you will. You already know what I think of it. You already know I'm going to say no, and just you've already, that's what this whole episode has been. So I'm not going to say anything. So, with that, I think that is all I have to say. Have a good day. And I'm tired of them putting chemicals in the gasoline that turn the frickin' cars gay.